Hello friends, this is Ms. T, and I am going to read a book to you today. It is called Iki, the Littlest Opihi. It is written and illustrated by Tammy Yee. Once upon a time, on a rocky shore in Hawaii, there lived a crowd of seashells. Twice a day, the tiny snails would crawl along the ocean's edge, following the gentle push and pull of the tide. Round Papipi, as black as lava and speckled gray Pupukolea, dotted the surf-swept shore. But bravest of all were the Opihi. Clinging tightly to the rocks, they could withstand the mightiest waves with their rugged cone-shaped shells. Stick to it, they would rally as they huddled together amidst the pounding surf. Stick to it, they would cry as wave after wave crashed against the shore. Stick to it! Tiny Iki was the littlest Opihi of all. He was small and squat with a teeny-weeny dome-shaped shell that he carried like a little shield on his back. Iki had spent many days and many nights as a larva, drifting merrily in the ocean blue. He floated far and wide with not a worry in the world. Now it was time for him to find a nice rock where he could settle down. Settle down, said his larval friends as they found homes along the beach. Settle down, called the seashells from the shore. Settle down! But the little Opihi wouldn't settle down. He wanted to see the world. He drifted far away, far and wide. In time, the warm ocean currents carried Iki to the base of the coral reef. Spires of brightly colored coral towered above him. Sea fans swayed lazily in the tide. Anemones bloomed like daisies in a field of sea lettuce. Schools of dazzling reef fish grazed on algae. Little Iki was awestruck. The world, he exclaimed. Then, turning on his little snail foot, he slowly crawled away. Iki had seen the world. Now he was ready to settle down with his friends on the rocky shore. Cheerfully he crept along over sandy peaks and silty plains. A great shadow passed over him. Iki looked up to see a large gray shape with jagged white teeth glide by. The little Opihi was not worried. He hadn't a care in the world, for he was much too puny for a shark to notice. Onward he crawled at a snail's pace. Just ahead was a tangled mass of snaky tentacles. A huge head loomed large before him. Great clouds of silt and sand billowed as the head wrestled a cowrie into his coral den. But Iki was not worried. He hadn't a care in the world. He was much too puny for Hehe to eat. Still, he crawled a little faster toward the beach. As he cleared a sandy ridge, a large crab appeared before him. He was orange and hairy with sharp claws. On his back rode 2 anemones like twin palm trees reaching skyward. Iki was not too worried. He was much too puny for a crab to notice, wasn't he? The crab grasped him with a mighty claw. Stick to it, thought Iki as he hunkered down beneath his little shell. Stick to it, he muttered as he struggled to grip the sandy floor. Stick to it! But there was nothing for him to stick to. The sand shifted and slipped as he dug his foot deeper and deeper. My, you're puny for an anemone, boomed the crab in a raspy voice. He plucked the little Opihi from the sand and placed him firmly on his back. Iki looked up. Big anemone to the right, big anemone to the left, little Iki in the middle on the back of a big orange crab. He spread his little foot and held on for dear life as the crab lumbered onward. The anemone to the right peered down at him. You really shouldn't, he began. Be out here all alone, finished the anemone to the left. I was headed for the rocky shore, stammered Iki. Well, you are most fortunate, said one anemone. Because that's where we're headed, said the other. Stick to it and enjoy the ride, they said. Iki had a wonderful time atop the crab's back. No shark would bother him, no he'e would eat him. And crabs? Well, he had a crab of his very own. And a messy eater was he. Little Iki and the anemones had plenty to eat. The anemones were very nice. They, too, had seen the world and had many fine stories to share. When the crab reached the tidal pools, little Iki let go and tumbled gently off the crab's great shell. Goodbye, goodbye, called the anemones as the crab climbed away. Little Iki found a spot on a rock amidst a cluster of opihi. He settled down beneath the thundering waves and held on tight. Twice a day, he and the other opihis would follow the ebb and flow of the surging tide. Sometimes the other opihi would whisper amongst themselves. He's a wanderer, they would say. He'll never stick to it. Iki ignored them. One day, an opihi picker came to the rock with a sharp knife. He used the knife to pry the shells from the rock and then placed the shells into a bag. The picker held on tight as treacherous waves crashed nearby. The opihi picker came to Iki and worked his knife under the little opihi shell. Little Iki gripped the rock and held on. Stick to it, he thought to himself. Just then a mighty wave hit the shore, knocking the opihi picker from the rocks. But the picker held tightly to his knife, which was still firmly stuck under Iki's little shell. Stick to it, cried Iki as the ocean tried in vain to pull the picker out to sea. Stick to it! The wave roared by. The exhausted little opihi let go of the rock and tumbled into the surf. The opihi picker was safe. Together they were washed ashore onto the sandy beach. This is it, thought Iki. The picker stooped down to pick up the tiny shell. Little Iki lay in the palm of his hand, his little shell chipped along the edge. But instead of placing Iki in his bag, he placed the little opihi back upon the rocks. Then he opened his bag and released all the opihi. You saved my life, said the picker as he turned to walk away. You must be my amukua. Little Iki lived along the rocky shore, his body small and squat, with a teeny-weeny chipped shell on his back. He was well respected by all the seashells and was quite famous. Every larva in the ocean blue knew the story of Iki, the sticky little Opihi. Little Iki stuck to it, and what a ride it was. I hope you enjoyed this book, Iki, the Littlest Opihi. This is one of my kids' favorite books. I hope you're enjoying your different kind of schooling that we're having right now. We miss seeing all of you. I hope you're able to talk to your teachers online and that you're getting phone calls and maybe even doing some video calls with some of them. We certainly miss seeing all of you in class, and I hope we get to see you this summer. Talk to you again soon.